I'm Linda Holt. My testimony today is about something that began on November 25th, 2020. My husband, Roger, had died 2 years previous to this, and I was alone on our 10 acres up on the mountain, off-grid. I loved that place. I lived there a total of 37 years. My family, friends that knew me then all knew that I would never leave that mountain because that was just my home. And November 25th, 2020, the Holy Spirit spoke to me. He always speaks to me right here where I can't see him, but I can hear him audibly. And he said, it's time for you to sell your home. I have things for you to do that you can't do on this mountain. So I spent 2 sleepless nights. And the second morning when I got up, I said, what am I doing? I already said yes. And so I realized that I was trying to fix something that there was no way I could fix. It was impossible. But I knew I had to do this. So I prepared to leave. And in May, Marianne was able to list my property. And that began the real serious preparation. And so I had two husbands that died on that mountain, a lot of life there, a lot of memories there. But when the Holy Spirit says, do it, you just do it. And I knew that if I didn't, I would regret that. I just knew that. So Marianne began helping me hunt for property, and I couldn't afford what we were looking at all. And I didn't know where I was going to go, but I knew I was supposed to stay here because I was a big part of Church of Faith. And I knew that I needed to be there. So finally, her and Pastor wanted me to look at this one that they owned, this lot. I think it was the last one they had available. There might have been one other one across the street. And I looked at it, and I knew immediately, as soon as I saw that, I knew this was what I was supposed to do. But I didn't know how I could afford a new house, and Pastor was going to build the house, and they kept reassuring me that this was doable. So Pastor worked on my house through the fall. I was able to do some things that cut on the expense, shovel the snow off of the deck of the house before the roof was all done or before it was enclosed. And the house was done enough for me to move in March because I had made good money selling my property, but I also paid more for building materials because time had passed and things had gotten more expensive. Through all of this, I was making a lot of extra money that I wasn't used to having, and all of it went on my mortgage. Well, my 80th birthday in January was coming up, and little did I know, Marianne planned a surprise birthday party and invited all kinds of people behind my back. I've never had anyone pull anything like this in my life on me. So she had told them in the invitation to my birthday party that I had a small mortgage I wanted to pay off. There was going to be a money tree if people felt so inclined they could do that. And they did, and people were very generous, and I got quite a nice amount of money from that. And then about 2 weeks after that, she called me and said, Linda, somebody just called me and they want to pay your mortgage off. And so they did. And I don't know who it was. I wrote them a thank you note. I asked her if she could give them the note if I wrote it, and she said she would do that. So that's what happened. She gave them my thank you note, and I'll never know who that was, but no one knows what that was like to have that paid. And I said, Jesus paid my debt for my salvation, and then these people paid a debt that was a heavy load on me because I just don't like debt. I was managing, but I don't like debt. And so before I knew that this had been paid off, we were taking all these pledges for the new church. And I felt like the Holy Spirit was telling me something to do that was totally impossible. So I pledged what I knew I could do, and then this happened. So then, of course, I doubled my pledge because I knew I could make it then. And so I look back on how God has blessed me because I made the choices He wanted me to make, not because it was always comfortable or always what I thought I wanted to do, but I try to guide my life. I was reading 2 Peter chapter 1 this past week, studying that chapter I don't know, because the Holy Spirit took me there. First 11 verses. And if you read them, you can see that is how I try to pattern my life and do what I know I'm supposed to do. And the more we do it, the easier it gets. And no regrets, because I know where I'm going to be when I leave this earth. And I guess that's the end of the story for this time.